This is Mac OS Ken.
A neutral note on Apple shares. What if fires up Apple Vision Pro? And I have a new show about which to tell you. It is Friday, the 31st of May, 2024. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. Well, it seems like every analyst has turned positive on Apple headed toward WWDC. It only seems that way. Barron's had one Thursday who could be open to the idea of buying Apple shares, but not yet. The piece had UBS research analyst David Vogt writing that the Cupertino company is not out of the woods yet. What's weird is he's basing that on weak iPhone numbers from Counterpoint Research, not strong numbers from the China Academy of Information and Communications Technology. CAICT numbers released earlier this week saw international smartphone shipments in China, aka iPhone shipments in China, up 52% in April versus April of 2023. And yet, Vogt said in the note he wrote, our analysis of April smartphone sell-through data, Counterpoint Research as the source, points to continued pressure in the two largest smartphone markets, the US and China. While units were up in Europe owing to an easy compare, units were down almost 20% in China, 4% in the US, and 8% in India. Counterpoint's got iPhone down almost 20% in China, while China's got them up around 50%. I know there's a difference between shipments and sell-through, but could it really be that wide? Mr. Vogt has a neutral rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is $190. Of course, it's not recent iPhone sales that have most analysts excited. It's future iPhone sales driven by whatever Apple plans to announce at WWDC in a little over a week. Yeah, but Counterpoint said so. Yeah, you do you, man. Who's considering EU-like legislation to rein in big tech? If you said the UK, yes, but that's not who we're talking about. If you said Japan, yes, but that is not who we are talking about. If you said India, pin a rose on you. Reuters ran a piece earlier this week saying a U.S. lobby group representing tech giants Google, Amazon, and Apple has asked India to rethink its proposed EU-like competition law, arguing regulations against data use and preferential treatment of partners could raise user costs. There's a lot more to this story. There's also no fixed timeline on implementation. Anywho, India is considering a DMA of its own. Thought you'd want to know. Over to China now, where Apple has apparently beaten an App Store antitrust suit. According to a piece from Apple Insider, an individual developer named Jin Shin sued Apple in 2021. The developer was looking to force Apple to stop charging its 30% App Store commission. They also wanted the company to let consumers use payment systems besides Apple's in-app payment mechanism to pay the developer around $15,500 US in compensation, and to issue a public apology. 3 years later, the piece says the Shanghai Intellectual Property Court is not buying it. According to the report, the court said that it had compared Apple's commission fees with other app marketplaces. It didn't find Apple's fees to be significantly higher than those operating on Android. It also determined there was no evidence to suggest that fees led to higher prices for consumers. The developer plans to appeal to the China Supreme People's Court, which sounds like an overblown TV show, but probably isn't. State-issued ID cards are coming to Apple Wallet users in Japan in about a year. Mac Rumors had the Cupertino company announcing the news yesterday. According to a machine translation of the announcement, Apple is working with the Japanese digital agency to prepare everyone living in Japan to use the My Number card in Apple Wallet from the second half of next spring. Japan is the first to deploy the Apple Wallet identity card function outside the U.S. MacRumor says over 100 million Japanese residents currently have My Number card IDs, which enable them to receive services at over 60,000 convenience stores around the country through online portals and in other settings such as hospitals and government agencies. If you were annoyed by YouTube hijacking the screensaver on Apple TV, get ready to be happy. 9to5Mac reminds readers of the annoyance. As the site reported in late April, if you were using the YouTube app on an Apple TV and paused it for a few minutes, the app started running a screensaver of its own, one that showed either generic still images or YouTube thumbnail art endlessly zooming in, fading to black, and starting again, depending on the state in which you left the application. Not only did that not let people see the prettier pictures chosen by Apple, it also kept the TV and the Apple TV from turning off. After many complaints, Thursday's 9to5Mac piece says YouTube seems to have rolled back this update. Summer is fast approaching, and you know what that means. Time to send the kids to camp or sit them down in front of the television. But hey, why not do both? Apple TV Plus issued a press release this week teasing the new original Peanuts series, Camp Snoopy, and offering a trailer. There are big doings in wherever the Peanuts gang lives. Describing the show, the press release says after discovering their troop is in danger of disbanding, Snoopy and the Beagle Scouts set off to immerse themselves in nature and the great outdoors to earn their badges, with the Beagle Scout manual as their guide. Meanwhile, Charlie Brown and friends enjoyed their summer at Camp Spring Lake, crossing paths with Snoopy as they experienced hiking, swimming, sitting around campfires, and everything summer camp and the outdoors have to offer. What about cicadas? Do they deal with cicadas? While the release says it's a series, it doesn't say how many episodes there are. They'll probably all hit at once, though. That seems to be the way Apple handles kids' programming. Children and children at heart can visit Camp Snoopy starting Friday, the 14th of June. Between now and then, you can catch the trailer on YouTube. And finally today, what sounds like one of the coolest things yet to hit Apple Vision Pro, hit the headset on Thursday. 9to5Mac hipped readers to the Marvel Studios' What If immersive story, game, experience, thing. First announced earlier this month as a Vision Pro exclusive, the experience producers said fans will be invited to step inside the multiverse like never before and have the chance to dive into an immersive, narrative-driven, and innovative story in mixed reality that will deliver a technologically advanced and engaging experience to fans. Jason Snell at Six Colors was really impressed, saying the hour I spent with What If was maybe the best hour I've spent on Apple Vision Pro since I got it. If Apple is looking for a single app that demonstrates all the features of the Vision Pro at its best, What If may be the answer. Less impressed was Mara Eakin at Wired, who said, "I'm not actually sure if it's a win for anyone outside of the big companies backing it. While it's initially intriguing and visually complex, the more time you spend with it, the flimsier the experience becomes." Upload VR's Ian Hamilton was way into it, saying the experience is so wildly successful at transporting you inside the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think it should find a home at Disneyland or Disney World, where more people can try it. And hear ye the words of a macOS Ken listener. Steve wrote in saying, OMFG, 100% worth the price of admission. It's free right now, unless he means the $3,500 headset. Anyway, he goes on to say he's been using his Vision Pro a couple of times a week for various things. 3D movies are great, but the release of What If, it's a total game changer. I'm a fan of the series and enjoyed both seasons. It's a fun, interactive story that you get to play a role in. Visually, it's nothing short of stunning. I don't even know how long it took me to get through it all. I just started and went all the way through in one go. I think it was longer than I expected, but it was fun all the way through. He also sent me screenshots of the experience, which totally didn't make me want a Vision Pro even more. He lied through his teeth. As I mentioned earlier, the app is free for a limited time. Way to experience it, sold separately. I got 2 shows to tell you about before I let you go. First, on this week's checklist, brought to you by SecureMac, 2 tales of misuses of AI tools, each pulled off by individuals and each with serious ramifications. But, we make it fun. Look for checklist number 377 later today, wherever you get podcasts, or on the show's site, securemac.com/checklist. Now, the other show is really a surprise. I used to do a show for the Mac Observer called the Daily Observations Podcast. And now I am doing another show for the Mac Observer. It is called The Mac Observer Show. This one's not daily, it's weekly. Rather than doing top stories every day, the Mac Observer Show looks at a range of topics with a range of guests. Silicon Valley insiders, experts in various parts of Apple's business, people knowledgeable in other parts of tech. We're starting with one of those Silicon Valley insiders. Creative Strategy CEO Ben Bajarin is guest number 1. He's got thoughts on foldable iPhones, why Apple crashed the car, Apple Vision Pro, expectations for Apple and AI, and a bunch of other stuff too. Now, every Friday, you can hear the show and subscribe wherever you get podcasts. You can also listen at macobserver.com or, and this is crazy, you can watch the show on the Mac Observer's YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/MacObserver. The plans for the show to start today, though it was mothballed for over a year. We're working out some kinks. If you were subscribed and never unsubscribed, you should just see the show up in your feed sometime today. If you need to resubscribe, as of right now, you're still looking for the Mac Observer's Daily Observations podcast, though that should change in the next day or 2. Seek it out. Tell a friend. The Mac Observer Show, every Friday on YouTube, wherever you get podcasts, and of course, at macobserver.com. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.